caged animal raring to pound. Hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the World Season 1, Episode 1. And before we get started, I would just like to welcome the one and only Dawn Rowlands to the Fingerdoo family on Patreon. But to be honest, Dawn's been part of the family for years. So for what it's worth, welcome, Dawn, and what took you so long? Jeez. Speaking of Patreon, I would like to also welcome Music is Magic to the Princess tier. Enjoy catching up on those weekly watches, music, and if you'd like to join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, where we have 2 live Zoom chats a month. Yes, that's 2, plus my weekly watch of videos, among other things. Then check out that link down below. Now, Jorge, drink me! Oh, ooh, what is this another? It's not a margarita. It's a gin fizz. It's just gin and Fresca. Yummy. That shouldn't really taste that good, but what can you say? I love me some Fresca. Okay, right off the top, I have to say I was very excited for this episode. I mean, history was being made as the first international season of RuPaul's Drag Race got underway. And I have to say, they started it off in style. Instead of the queens entering the workroom, they made their entrances on stage. Yes, it was very posh, with lights going and music playing and a backlit silhouette, which one by one revealed our queens. The first was runner-up of Drag Race UK Season 1 and a surprisingly regal Diana-esque bag of chips. Seriously, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked so prim and pulled together. I like that she called herself the People's Princess, which is agreeably better than being called the People's Prostitute. I mean, first of all, it's different streets right there. The next queen down the catwalk was Drag Race UK Season 1 sweetheart, Blue Hydrangea, dressed like, well, a psychedelic Juno Birch doing Marge Simpson. Blue looked fantastic, mostly because it looks like she hasn't aged a day since Season 1. God, I hate her. Next was Drag Race UK Season 1's Cheryl Hole. She was perfection in pink feathers. Her face was flawless, the hair was stunning, the outfit looked expensive. I missed my Cheryl, I'm just saying. Well, that's the UK now. Let's bring on the world. As Team UK pondered the possible foreigners they could be up against, Baga admitted she was worried about understanding any foreign accents, to which Cheryl immediately said, well, they're going to have a harder time understanding you, Baga. She's not wrong. I still don't understand what she's saying most of the time. Our first globetrotter down the catwalk was Janie Jacquet, although it took me seeing her out of drag to recognize her. Anyone else? Janie looked good in her blue-gray bondage onesie and wig, but I have to admit I was more excited about her saying that she wouldn't need subtitles, and all I could think was hooray, because I feel we lost a lot in the translation where Drag Race Holland and their subtitles were concerned. Seriously. Plus, I'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth. Canada's own drag clown Jimbo got a rousing welcome as she made her way down the catwalk in her rainbow jumpsuited glory. Almost immediately, Baga pointed out to Jimbo and Janie that they were finally going to meet RuPaul and, in Janie's case, Michelle. Well, that seemed to get their nervous juices flowing. You know, I still can't tell if Baga is a calculating plotter or thick as 2 short planks. Either way, it makes me laugh because nervous juices was the name of my French play. Lemon from Canada's Drag Race Season 1 was next down the catwalk, filler and all. Right away, the other queens gagged over her naked gams. They were gorgeous. Plus, that was my drag name in high school. Right away, Baga asked who of the Canadian queens would come out on top. See? Always stirring the pot. I thought Lemon calling Jimbo a top and herself the top was very clever, which I found refreshing because you don't often see clever with pretty. The next queen down the catwalk was Pangina Heels, the first host of a Drag Race franchise participating as a contestant. Well, she looked fresh and fabulous in her white pageant-themed gown. The other queens were gagged, especially the ones who knew who she was. Mo Hart was next with her old name card and, well, calling herself Monique. Does this mean we get to call her Monique? Because I have to tell you, I love that name. And I loved what Monique was wearing. The lavender and gold asymmetrical number was fabulous. Shut up. The queens seemed thrilled to meet Monique, but that didn't stop Cheryl from asking her if she thought she was going to win. Hello, have you met Monique Hart? She was born thinking she was going to win, which is why she started to read Cheryl for filth. Jimbo jumped in, and then Monique started reading everyone. It was very vivid. Just as I thought they were going to need to be separated, our final queen, Jujubee, the Susan Lucci of Drag Race, made her way down the catwalk. She looked good. Juju has obviously moved up from mall manager to night hostess, but she looked good. Of course, her lack of a winning streak was pointed out to her almost immediately. Thank you, Bagga. But she didn't care. 5th time's the charm, I guess. And then Ru surprised the queens by descending on a scaffolding. God, she'll do anything not to have to socialize with these queens, eh? Right away, Ru laid out the rules. There would be one winner, they would be crowned, and they would record a duet with her. And the queens would be eliminating each other, so it's All Stars rules. Quel international. Ru also let the queens know that their first maxi challenge was going to be a royal command performance highlighting their individual talents. So a talent show. And then the queens retired to the workroom and took no time to unpack and get themselves out of drag. Right away, the season's resident clowns, Bagga and Jimbo, started wrecking the joint, or at least breaking a light bulb or two with their over-exuberance. I know what that's like, because over-exuberance was my drag queen name in high school. As this was going on, the American queens Mo and Juju read the other queens to filth. And America wonders why the rest of the world hates them. Go figure. There was also a cut of Juju taking notes on what I can only assume were the other queens. That's the first sign of getting old, you know, losing your memory. Who are you? Blue commented to Cheryl about the mood changing after the Americans arrived. Cheryl agreed that, well, they were obviously ready to play the game hard. Speaking of Cheryl, she was surprised by the immediate judgment from some of the other queens. Okay, mostly Monique, and was looking forward to the talent show speaking for itself. Good for you, Cheryl. Show 'em. To help some of the queens relax, Bagga hosted an impromptu high tea with Pangina, Monique, and Juju, and tried to teach them some British slang. I don't think they got it. The next day, as the queens were getting ready for the talent show, I don't know what possessed Blue Hydrangea, but she chose that moment to tell Monique about the first time they met. Apparently, it didn't go well. From what Blue said, she was opening for Monique at a show, but Monique seemed to treat her like an assistant backstage and even yelled at her for letting her costume drag on the floor. Now, I'm sure this is something that Blue needed to get off her chest, but I would have waited until after the challenge when I was safe to share that. I mean, not before the challenge. Doesn't Blue realize that these queens are voting her off the show? Monique looked thrilled to hear the story, but I could see her plotting to kick both her and Cheryl off ASAP. What was her 25-year-old head thinking? I have a complaint. While Pangina and Janie got their makeup on, they talked about the pressure of representing their country for this season because, well, they were both the only ones representing their country. Plus the fact that Pangina hasn't been judged on the show before. I mean, don't get her wrong. She's been judged enough in life, but standing in front of the judges on international TV is enough to make any queen sweat. Seriously. Juju asked Lemon about her relationship with Jimbo, and I'm glad she did because I was wondering too. I mean, I noticed that of all the countries with multiple queens competing, it seemed like Jimbo and Lemon had spent the least amount of time talking. Lemon all but admitted that, well, they're not friends. They don't text. Hell, Lemon doesn't even have Jimbo's number. Lemon implied that when Jimbo was eliminated, she was so bitter and angry that she wasn't surprised Jimbo didn't want to be friendly. But in Jimbo's defense, of all the Canada's Drag Race queens, I'd say that Jimbo and Lemon had the least in common. So win, lose, or draw, I'm not surprised they're not close. I remember Jimbo blowing up, though. God, he was angry. Oh. As the queens continued to get ready, they talked about the difference between each country's drag. Britain, everyone thought, was comedy and acting skills. Jimbo and Lemon confirmed that, like Canada herself, the drag scene is very broad and diverse. Monique told Janie that she was impressed with the level of drag from Holland, and Pangina said although Thailand doesn't actually have a word for drag, since the introduction of Drag Race as a whole, there are many venues now for queens to perform in, including her own club. Did you hear that? She owns her own club. Smart queen. And then it was time for the runway. I hated Rue's outfit. Maybe if it had been longer, maybe if there were different tights. I mean, I like the tights, but not with this outfit. Just me. Michelle was there dropping an H&M joke. Graham Norton was back and ready to judge, and joining them on the panel, Melanie C. of Spice Girls fame. First up, the talent show. Lemon was first lip-syncing to her own song and dancing. She did okay, but, well, she didn't look like she was having any fun. For such a pretty queen, I wish she'd smiled more. Maybe she was worried about her big finishing move because when Lemon ended her number, she jumped off the staircase that had been sitting there on stage the whole time. I was gagged and a little tender. Monique was fun singing her own song, but as well as she did, I found the song had a little too much going on in it, and it was a lot to listen to, is all I'm saying. I didn't hate it, it was a lot. Janie Jacquet was next, doing a quick change number where she changed her outfit 5 times, but I agree with Baga. It was more of a strip, but without the tease. I really was expecting more from Janie. Baga sang live to her own song track, which was fun, but mostly because Baga sold the hell out of it. See, her personality can take you far. Did you hear me, Lemon? I don't know if she heard me. Jimbo did some classic clown work, which I'm never a fan of, no offense. But that said, she had a great character and a followable story that was peppered with laughs and luncheon meat. I have to say, watching her throw bologna at herself and it's sticking was so odd I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, what was I watching? Cheryl lip-synced to her own song and danced up a storm and threw a little costume change in there for good measure. I enjoyed it. Juju sang. Again, no offense, but hasn't she learned anything from being on Drag Race so often? I found this so boring that it made me miss Jimbo's deli meat. At least her dress was interesting. Pangina's rap complete with costume change was one of the best numbers of the night for me. Not only did she do a really good job, but I liked the song. Here's to Pangina Heels. That's how you do it. Then Blue Hydrangea's girl group cheerleader number was next. And, well, I forgot everything I'd seen so far. It was so hilarious. And the original song was fun because it was dirty. Here's the Blue. Well done. It's a great way to create backup singers for yourself. Then it was time for the runway. Category is, I'm a winner, baby! Lemon was first in a butter yellow princess pageant gown. This whole look screamed winner, so Fingerdoo for Lemon. Mo's green fantasy was stunning. The shoulder, the crown, the train. Fingerdoo for Mo. Finger fist. It was a lot. It was gorge. Jamie's red beaded nude fantasy was breathtaking, but I don't know. I'm nitpicking, but I kind of wished the lining had been sheer from the knee down. Still, Fingerdoo for Jamie. I just hated Baga's outfit until I remembered the category was Winner Baby, and, well, who doesn't want to win an Oscar? My only wish was that her makeup had matched the fabric a bit more. Still, I have to give her a Fingerdoo for this one. Bless. I mean, it is one of her better outfits. Jimbo's graphic queen was a showstopper. Absolutely, I love this fantasy and had no trouble giving Jimbo a Fingerdoo for it. Well done, Jimbo. I like Cheryl's dress, but it seemed a little simple next to what the other queens had shown so far. Still, I gave her a Fingerdoo. Juju looked gorgeous, but this dress was way too simple if you ask me. She looked like she bought it at the mall when she was managing it. I mean, as nice as she looked, it had no finesse. There was nothing on it that said she'd zhuzhed it up a little. So I had to give her a Fingerdoo. Come on, Juju. Jesus. Proving my point, Pangina Heels was next, and she was a Taiwanese goddess in her outfit. Her all-white and silver look was more than worth a Fingerdoo. Now, take notes, Juju. Seriously, what is she doing? Blue's explanation of her look was better than the look itself for me. But the main problem I had with it was that it didn't say Winter Baby to me. So I hated to do it, but I had to give Blue a finger don't. I mean, troll dolls having sex with highlighters. Who heard of such a thing? Then it was time for the judges' critiques. Monique, Jujubee, and Cheryl were all, well, psyched out by Ru, who picked a mean way to say safe. But safe they were, so they freaked off to the back of the stage. Lemon was first to be judged. Graham acknowledged that opening the talent show was hard, but that she had done a good job. Although Michelle felt she'd seen this type of act before, and Mel C said Lemon needed to serve face. As for her runway, no one hated it. Janie Jacquet was next, and everyone loved her runway as well, but as for her talent, Michelle wished that the transitions were smoother and the outfits fit better, but Graham was grateful for the variety. Next up was Joan of Baga. Everyone loved her act, but Michelle was confused by her outfit until Baga said she was an Oscar statuette. Still, she didn't need to explain herself. Jimbo was up next, and even though everyone was confused by her act, they were thoroughly engaged by it. But it was Jimbo's runway that more than stole the show. So here's the Jimbo. Well done. Michelle was more than impressed by Pangina's putting her reputation on the line by competing. Everyone loved her performance almost as much as she loves Mel C. So it's a lot. Graham was shocked by how filthy Blue's lyrics were for her being such a young queen. But as for her runway, everyone was a little confused at how it represented being a winner. Seriously. Unless there's a prize for having sex with highlighters. And then it was announced that Jimbo and Pangina were this week's top queens, and Lemon and Janie were in the bottom. Thankfully for Baga and Blue, they were safe. So, with that knowledge, the queens all retired to the Untucked Lounge. Backstage, the queens got their cocktail on as they congratulated Pangina and Jimbo for being the first two top queens of the season. Lemon was more than a little emotional for being in the bottom so early. Clearly, no one wants to go home first, and facing this as a possibility was more than poor little Lemon could take, bless. Janie seemed to have a much better handle on things. She knew this was going to be about splitting hairs where some of these other queens were concerned, so have at it. Jimbo's chat with Lemon was odd. Cold and odd. Although she was sorry to see her sister in the bottom, she wasn't sure how she was going to vote until she talked to Janie. Speaking of, Janie's conversation with Pangina was more productive. Janie was able to point out where she felt she'd done better than Lemon, and, well, Pangina wasn't arguing with her. On the other hand, Lemon's conversation with Pangina was more of an ego stroke, if you ask me, while Jimbo talked to Janie on the pros and cons of keeping either her or Lemon. Well, at least Janie was able to say that she was the only queen from Holland, while there were two queens from Canada. Personally, it wasn't looking like it was going to be a good night for Miss Lemon, I'm just so sorry to say. Back on the main stage, Pangina was the only one to make a costume change for the lip sync. Jimbo not only kept her runway outfit on, sans coat, but she also kept that hood mask contraption on, which was obscuring her face for the lip sync, if you ask me. Well, actually, no one did. The Spice Girls' Say You'll Be There was the song, and right out of the gate, I think Pangina was stealing the show, mostly because I could see her face. I was glad that Jimbo took off the long skirt so that she could move more, but as far as both queens were concerned, they did a good job until they started tripping over each other. But once they entangled themselves, I felt that Pangina put a little more pepper on her ice than Jimbo did. So when Ru announced that she was this week's winner, I wasn't surprised. What did she win? Well, a gold repeater badge. It's not real gold. Then Lemon and Janie stepped forward and Pangina revealed that she had picked Lemon's lipstick. I was just as disappointed to see Lemon go as she was. It was a sad moment for sure, and really brought it home to the other queens how final getting your lipstick chosen was going to be. Seriously. So, our first episode of UK versus the World. What do you think? Did the right queen go home? Were the right queens in the bottom? Will Janie land there again? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to support my channel with a tip or do, or by joining me on Patreon, or getting yourself some Wilma merch from my Redbubble store, the links for all of that are in the description box. Till next week, miss me! Seriously, such a lot of information for the first week of the show. I'm sorry that Lemon went home first. I didn't think she was going to win. But I'm sorry she went home first. I wonder how sorry Jimbo was to see Lemon go. I can understand a queen from a country that has multiple contestants wanting to get the other contestants out so they're the only one left for that country, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win. It just means that they're getting rid of weaker. I would have kept Lemon if I had been. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who Jimbo has. I'll bet you that Jimbo has Lemon's lipstick. That's what you get for not being friends with somebody, I suppose.